him, I'm like, this only makes him look bigger than he is. Because they're making this nigga look like he's a terrorist. Like, yo, if he comes to town, the murder rate is going crazy.
Y'all ain't gonna believe what just happened. NBA Youngboy finally broke his silence about getting banned from Louisiana. And let me tell you something. This man is heated as hell about the whole situation. I got exclusive information about what really went down at those New Orleans shows, why the feds showed up thinking his ops were coming with heavy artillery, and the real reason Youngboy said fuck it and just started walking through Bourbon Street by himself with no security. But here's the crazy part. Youngboy knew this was coming. He knew they was gonna try to ban him after those shows, so he decided to go out with a bang. That birthday walk through Bourbon Street wasn't no accident. That was his middle finger to the whole system that's been trying to stop his success. This ain't just about one rapper getting banned from performing. This is about how they treat young black men who refuse to be controlled. Let me break this whole situation down for you, because what really happened in New Orleans exposed how corrupt these Louisiana officials really are. The return to Louisiana. To understand how we got here, we need to go back to October 2024 when Youngboy announced he was finally coming back to Louisiana after 7 years. This wasn't just any regular tour stop. This was his homecoming, his 26th birthday celebration, and his chance to show his home state that he made it despite everything they put him through. But the moment those shows got announced, the whole Louisiana establishment went into panic mode. We talking about the same police superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick, who had been trying to keep urban artists out of New Orleans for years. This is the same woman who played a role in keeping Lil Wayne from performing at the Super Bowl in his own city. According to sources close to Youngboy's team, they knew from day one that the police didn't want these shows to happen. The city was already dealing with budget problems. They couldn't even afford to pay their own employees. But suddenly they had money to deploy 400 extra officers for 2 rap concerts. The math wasn't adding up, and Youngboy's people started realizing this was bigger than just security concerns. This was about sending a message that successful young black men from the hood weren't welcome in their own home state. Federal fear mongering. Now here's where it gets really wild. And this is information that ain't been reported nowhere else. The feds showed up to those New Orleans shows because they claimed to have intelligence that Youngboy's ops were planning to attend with serious firepower. We talking about reports that people from Chicago were coming down with heavy artillery to start a war. But here's what really happened. The feds was spreading false information to local police to justify the massive security response. They told New Orleans PD that Kodak Black's people were coming to the show to cause problems. They said there was gonna be shootouts, bloodbaths, the whole 9. None of this was true, gang. There was never any credible threat from Chicago, from Kodak's camp, or from anybody else. The feds was playing psychological warfare, trying to spook local police into canceling the shows or making them so expensive that Youngboy couldn't afford to perform. But Youngboy's team called their bluff. They paid the extra security costs, over $400,000 per show, just to prove a point. They was like, y'all wanna play games? We got the money to play too. Proving them wrong. Both shows went off without any major incidents, which exposed how fake all the security concerns really were. Over 17,000 people each night, and the worst thing that happened was some fans trying to get in without tickets and a couple of fights in the crowd. Typical concert stuff that happens at any major event. But the police and the media tried to make it seem like it was chaos. They falsely reported that there was a gunshot fired at one of the shows when it was really just equipment being broken down. They exaggerated every little incident to make it seem like the shows were dangerous. Meanwhile, Youngboy was backstage every night, staying out of trouble, performing his music and showing love to his fans. He wasn't causing no problems. He was just being himself and celebrating his success with the people who supported him from day one. But the establishment had already made up their minds. They was gonna use any excuse to justify banning him from future performances, even if they had to make up stories about what happened. The birthday walk. Here's where Youngboy's frustration finally reached its breaking point. After the second show on his 26th birthday, he found out that Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick was already talking about banning him from performing in Louisiana again. This was before anything even happened. They had already decided to use the shows as justification for keeping him out. So Youngboy said, "F it. and decided to take a walk through Bourbon Street by himself. No security, no entourage, just him walking through the heart of New Orleans like a regular person. But this wasn't no random decision. This was calculated. According to sources close to his camp, Youngboy knew exactly what he was doing. He knew that walking through Bourbon Street alone would create a scene, and he wanted to show the world how much love he really had in his home state. He wanted to prove that all the security concerns were bullshit, and that's exactly what happened. Thousands of fans mobbed him on Bourbon Street, but it wasn't violent or dangerous. It was pure love. People was just trying to take pictures, show respect, and celebrate with him on his birthday. The police had to come extract him, not because he was in danger, but because the crowd was so big it was blocking traffic. The investigation following the money. But here's what really got the Louisiana officials heated. Youngboy's shows brought in serious money to the city, and they didn't get their cut. The Smoothie King Center made millions. The hotels were booked, the restaurants were packed, but the city and state were too stupid to raise their taxes during the event to capitalize on all that economic activity. According to sources familiar with the situation, the shows generated over $1.25 billion in economic activity, but the city barely broke even because they spent so much money on unnecessary security. They was paying overtime to 400 cops who didn't need to be there just to make a point about controlling Youngboy. Meanwhile, Youngboy was paying for most of that security out of his own pocket. This man was literally paying the city hundreds of thousands of dollars for the privilege of performing in his home state, and they still found a way to complain about it. The real issue wasn't security or safety. It was that Youngboy represented everything they couldn't control. Here's a young black man who came from the worst neighborhoods in Louisiana, survived everything they threw at him, and became more successful than most of the politicians trying to ban him. The day after Youngboy's birthday walk, his manager Alex Jr. posted on social media that Superintendent Ann Kirkpatrick had banned Youngboy from performing in Louisiana as long as she was in office. The post said, "Shout out to Twinkie Twinsky for telling us we're never allowed to perform in Louisiana again after these two shows." But here's what they don't want y'all to know. A city police superintendent can't legally ban someone from performing in an entire state. That's not how the law works. What really happened is that Kirkpatrick started a campaign to pressure venues and promoters not to book Youngboy, using the threat of expensive security requirements and police harassment. This is the same playbook they used against other successful black artists. They can't legally ban you, but they can make it so expensive and difficult to perform that venues won't book you. It's systematic oppression disguised as public safety concerns. According to sources close to the situation, Kirkpatrick was already planning this ban before the shows even happened. She used Youngboy's birthday walk as justification, claiming it showed he was irresponsible and dangerous. But the real reason was that his success exposed how they've been holding back other young people from the same communities. Now here's where it gets really interesting, because Youngboy ain't taking this lying down. According to my sources, he's already meeting with federal civil rights lawyers about filing discrimination lawsuits against the city of New Orleans and the state of Louisiana. His legal team is arguing that the ban is based on racial discrimination and violates his constitutional rights to free speech and equal protection under the law. They got evidence showing that white artists with similar or worse criminal histories have been allowed to perform in Louisiana without any special security requirements. Youngboy is also planning to file complaints with the Department of Justice about how the FBI spread false information to local police to justify the massive security response. If they can prove that federal agents lied about security threats, that's a major civil rights violation that could result in millions of dollars in damages. But the most interesting part of his response is what he's planning to do with his platform. Sources tell me Youngboy is working on a documentary about systematic oppression in Louisiana, focusing on how they use public safety as an excuse to suppress successful black voices. This situation is bigger than just Youngboy getting banned from Louisiana. This is about how the system works to destroy young black men who refuse to be controlled. They can't arrest him anymore because he's been beating cases and staying out of trouble, so now they trying to destroy his career through economic warfare. Think about it. Youngboy is one of the biggest artists in the world, making millions of dollars and employing hundreds of people. His success should be celebrated, especially in a state like Louisiana that struggles economically. But instead of embracing him, they trying to push him out because they can't control his message. The same police superintendent who banned Youngboy is the one who helped keep Lil Wayne from performing at the Super Bowl in his own city. This is a pattern of behavior designed to keep successful black artists from inspiring the next generation of young people from the hood. What makes this situation even more serious is the federal involvement. The FBI showing up to Youngboy's concerts with false intelligence about threats is a major abuse of power that needs to be investigated. According to sources, the feds have been following Youngboy to every city on his tour, spreading the same false stories about potential violence and trying to get shows canceled. This ain't law enforcement. This is harassment designed to destroy his career. The fact that they specifically mentioned Kodak Black's people coming to cause problems shows how they use existing beefs and conflicts to justify their overreach. They know that mentioning other artists will make local police more nervous and more likely to overreact. But when none of their predictions came true, no shootouts, no violence, no problems, it exposed how they've been lying to justify their harassment campaign against Youngboy. Here's what's really crazy about Louisiana banning Youngboy. They're hurting their own economy to make a political point. Youngboy's shows brought millions of dollars to New Orleans, filled hotels, packed restaurants, and created jobs for local people. But because they can't control the narrative around his success, they'd rather lose all that economic activity than admit they were wrong about him. This is the same backwards thinking that keeps Louisiana at the bottom of every economic ranking in the country. Meanwhile, other states are going to benefit from Louisiana's stupidity. Youngboy's going to take his tours to Texas, Georgia, Florida, and other states that appreciate the economic impact of major entertainment events. Louisiana's loss is everybody else's gain. The real impact of this ban goes beyond economics. It's about silencing black voices and controlling the narrative about success in urban communities. Youngboy represents hope for young people who come from the same circumstances he came from. When they ban him from performing in his home state, they're sending a message that no matter how successful you become, if you don't conform to their expectations, they'll find a way to punish you. That's a dangerous precedent that affects way more than just one artist. This is about the right of black artists to tell their stories, celebrate their success, and inspire the next generation. When they use public safety as an excuse to silence those voices, they're really trying to control the narrative about what's possible for young black people. The legal strategy, constitutional violations. Youngboy's legal team is building a strong case around constitutional violations and civil rights abuses. They're arguing that the ban violates his First Amendment rights to free speech and his 14th Amendment rights to equal protection under the law. They got evidence showing that the security requirements imposed on Youngboy were far beyond what's required for other artists, including white artists with criminal histories. This type of disparate treatment is exactly what civil rights laws were designed to prevent. The federal angle makes this even more serious. If they can prove that FBI agents spread false information to justify harassment, that's a violation of Youngboy's civil rights that could result in major financial damages and policy changes. Here's the bottom line, fam. Youngboy ain't backing down from this fight. He's got the money, the legal team, and the platform to expose how corrupt this whole system really is. Louisiana thought they could bully him into submission, but they picked the wrong one. This case is going to set a precedent for how successful black artists are treated by law enforcement and local governments. If Youngboy wins his civil rights lawsuit, it's going to make it much harder for other cities and states to use public safety as an excuse to discriminate against black entertainers. The irony is that by trying to silence Youngboy, they've given him an even bigger platform to expose their corruption. His documentary about systematic oppression in Louisiana is going to reach millions of people and show the world how they really treat successful black men who refuse to be controlled. Youngboy's birthday walk through Bourbon Street wasn't just about celebrating with his fans. It was about showing that he belongs in Louisiana just as much as anybody else. The fact that they tried to use that moment of joy and connection as justification for banning him shows how twisted their priorities really are. This fight is far from over. Youngboy's got the resources and the determination to take this all the way to the Supreme Court if necessary. And when he wins, and he will win, it's gonna change how the system treats successful black artists forever. What y'all think about this situation? Do you think Youngboy's gonna win his civil rights case against Louisiana? Let me know in the comments, and make sure you subscribe because this story is just getting started. The system thought they could break Youngboy, but all they did was make him stronger and more determined to fight for justice.